In a vibrant, beautiful city, where the streets buzzed with life, lived Mike, a dashing billionaire. With a nice haircut and a charming smile, he was the envy of many. But behind his confident facade lay a heart that was sometimes uncertain. He had everything: a successful business, a lavish home, and a beautiful wife named Vera. Vera was stunning, with her long, flowing hair and beautiful figure. She came from humble beginnings, but her beauty and charm captivated Mike. They had a whirlwind romance, and despite the whispers from family and friends, Mike was determined to prove them wrong. He believed in their love, even when the warnings grew louder. "Mike, are you sure about her?" his best friend Jason asked one evening over drinks. "I've heard things, man. Things you might want to know." Mike waved his hand dismissively. "You're just jealous. Vera is amazing. She makes me happy." But as the months rolled by, Mike began to notice the cracks in their perfect life. Vera spent extravagantly, often buying things they didn't need. He tried to brush it off as her excitement about their life together, but something felt off. One day, after returning from a business trip, Mike found the house eerily quiet. "Vera?" he called, his voice echoing through the empty halls. There was no answer. He quickly learned that Maria, their longtime housekeeper, had been fired. Mike felt a wave of disappointment wash over him. Maria had been part of his family for years. When Maria returned to collect her belongings, she looked shocked to see Mike. "Sir, you're home early," she stammered. "Maria, what happened? Why did Vera fire you?" Mike asked, concern creasing his brow. Maria hesitated, her eyes darting around. She was worried I'd tell you things about her behavior." "What do you mean?" Mike pressed, feeling a knot form in his stomach. "Vera has changed, sir. She's been acting differently when you're not around. She doesn't treat the staff well," Maria whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Mike felt a mixture of anger and betrayal. "I need to find out the truth," he said, determination setting in. The next day, Mike hatched a plan. He would pretend to be someone he wasn't. So, he set out to act as if he had lost everything. After staging a minor accident, Mike found himself in a wheelchair. He called Vera, feigning a broken spirit. "Vera, I'm so sorry. I lost everything in a bad investment." Her reaction was chilling. "Oh, that's terrible," she replied, her tone flat. "I'll come home soon." As the days passed, Mike watched Vera closely. She seemed indifferent to his suffering, spending time with friends and ignoring his needs. One afternoon, while he was outside in the sun, he overheard a conversation between Vera and a group of her friends. "Who cares about him? I'm not a nurse," Vera scoffed, laughing with her friends. "I didn't sign up for this." Mike's heart sank. Vera's true colors were beginning to show. That evening, he confronted her. "Why are you treating me like this, Vera?" Vera rolled her eyes. "You don't understand. This isn't what I signed up for, Mike." Despair crept into Mike's heart. He felt trapped in a gilded cage. When Maria returned to the house, she treated Mike with kindness, bringing him meals and helping him with daily tasks. "Maria, thank you for being here," Mike said one day, tears in his eyes. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "You deserve better, Mike," Maria replied gently. "I've seen how she treats you." Days turned into weeks, and Vera's behavior grew colder. She often left Mike alone for parties and outings with friends, ignoring his pleas for companionship. Finally, one night, Vera stormed into the house after a late-night party. "I'm done with this," she shouted, I can't handle a cripple for a husband." Mike's heart shattered. "Vera, please, I need you," he pleaded, his voice cracking. But Vera scoffed. "You're not the man I married. You're just a burden now." After weeks of her neglect, Vera handed Mike divorce papers. "It's over," she said coldly, packing her things without a second glance. "Please don't go. I'll change. I can be better," Mike begged, his voice cracking. "Save it," Vera replied dismissively, stepping out the door with her bags. As the door clicked shut, a profound silence enveloped Mike. He was utterly alone, stripped of his wealth, health, and love. But in the depths of his despair, a plan began to form. He would not let Vera's cruelty define him. With the help of Maria, Mike began to work on his recovery. "Mike, you're strong. You can get through this," Maria encouraged him. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, Mike regained his strength. Finally, one sunny afternoon, he decided it was time for a grand reveal. "Maria, I have something to show you," he said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "What is it?" she asked, puzzled. With a deep breath, Mike stood up from the wheelchair, surprising Maria. "I've been pretending all along." Maria's jaw dropped in disbelief. "You can walk? But why?" "Because I needed to know who Vera really was," Mike explained, his voice steady. "I had to see the truth for myself." Tears filled Maria's eyes. "You did this for yourself. And for me?" "Yes, and for us," Mike said, a smile spreading across his face. With renewed energy, Mike returned to his business, slowly rebuilding his empire. One evening, as he was going over financial reports, his phone rang. It was Vera. "Mike, can we talk?" she asked, her voice laced with desperation. "What do you want, Vera?" he replied coolly. "I'm sorry for how I treated you. I've changed," she said, her tone softening. "Is that so?" "You left me when I needed you most," he replied, his heart hardening. "I was wrong, Mike. I realized that I took you for granted," Vera pleaded. "Vera, you showed me your true self," Mike said firmly, "and I can't forget that." "I'll do anything to make it right," she insisted, desperation creeping into her voice. "No, I've moved on. I'm engaged to someone who truly cares for me," he declared. "Who?" she exclaimed, shock evident in her voice. "Maria," he replied simply. Vera fell silent. "You can't be serious." "More serious than ever," Mike said. "She showed me what real love is." Mike and Maria later got married in a beautiful but small ceremony filled with love. As they exchanged vows, Mike's heart swelled with joy. "I promise to always cherish you," he said, looking into Maria's eyes. "And I promise to stand by your side," Maria replied, tears of happiness shining in her eyes. As they sealed their vows with a kiss, they stepped into a new life, hand in hand. After the wedding, life blossomed beautifully. Mike thrived in his business, and Maria was his rock. One evening, while they were enjoying a quiet dinner, Mike reflected on his journey. "Can you believe how far we've come?" he said, looking at Maria with affection. "I knew you were strong, Mike," Maria smiled. "You've always been capable of greatness." But as they laughed and reminisced, Vera lurked in the shadows, watching from a distance. She had never truly accepted the end of their marriage. Days turned into weeks, and Vera's presence loomed like a dark cloud over Mike's newfound happiness. She began to reach out to mutual friends, spinning stories about her life without Mike, trying to paint herself as the victim. "Mike, have you seen Vera lately?" Jason asked one evening, concern etched on his face. She's been telling people you were the one who mistreated her. Mike clenched his fists, anger bubbling within him. I can't believe she would do that. It's almost laughable, isn't it? Don't let her get to you, Maria interjected, her voice steady. We know the truth, and that's what matters. Yet the whispers from friends and acquaintances began to chip away at Mike's resolve. He wanted to protect Maria from the fallout of Vera's lies, but also felt the weight of injustice. One day, while Mike was at a charity event, Vera showed up, wearing a striking red dress that turned heads. She approached him with a false smile, as if nothing had ever happened. Mike, what a surprise to see you here, she exclaimed, pretending to be innocent. Vera, he said, keeping his tone neutral. What do you want? I just wanted to congratulate you on your marriage. I hope she makes you happy, she said, her eyes narrowing slightly. I don't need your congratulations. What you've done has shown me your true nature, Mike replied, feeling the heat rise in his chest. Vera stepped closer, lowering her voice. You don't have to be so cold. We can still be friends, you know. Friends? After everything? You treated me like I was nothing, Mike said, his voice rising. I won't let you manipulate me again. Vera's smile faltered for a moment, replaced by a flicker of anger. You think you can just forget me? I was part of your life, Mike. Yes, a chapter I've closed. It's time for you to move on too, he said firmly, walking away to rejoin Maria. Later that night, Mike shared the encounter with Maria. I didn't want to let her ruin our night, he said, his voice heavy with frustration. You did the right thing by standing your ground, Maria replied, her eyes full of support. We're building our life together, and that's what matters. But as time passed, Vera's antics grew bolder. She would show up at Mike's office, pretending to need assistance with business matters. Each time, Mike felt his patience wearing thin. Mike, can we talk? She said one day, leaning against the doorframe of his office. No, we can't. You need to leave, he replied, barely looking up from his work. I just want to discuss the past. We had some good times, didn't we? She persisted. Those good times were built on lies, Vera. I won't let you come back into my life, Mike stated firmly. Vera's pretense began to crack, revealing a vulnerability he hadn't seen before. I was scared, Mike. I didn't know how to handle the changes, she admitted, her voice shaking. Scared? You turned your back on me when I needed you most. You can't expect sympathy now, he said, feeling a mix of pity and anger. I'm not the same person I was then, Vera insisted, desperation creeping into her tone. I've been through a lot. Maybe you have, but that doesn't change what you did, Mike replied, his heart hardening once more. As the confrontation escalated, Mike realized that he had to confront the shadow of Vera for good. He couldn't let her haunting presence disrupt the life he was building with Maria. One evening, he decided to reach out to her one last time. Vera, let's meet. We need to talk, he said over the phone, his tone serious. When they met at a quiet cafe, the atmosphere was tense. Vera arrived looking anxious, twisting her hair between her fingers. Why did you want to meet? She asked, avoiding eye contact. Because I want to make it clear that I'm moving on. You need to stop trying to insert yourself into my life, Mike said, his voice steady. I miss you, Mike. I was wrong, she said, her voice trembling. I'm sorry, but that doesn't change anything. I've found happiness with Maria, and I won't let you come back in and disrupt that, he replied, firm in his resolve. Vera's eyes filled with tears, but Mike didn't waver. You need to take responsibility for your actions, It's time to heal and move forward without me." As he left the cafe, Mike felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had finally severed the last ties that bound him to Vera. Dear amazing viewers, I know that you are thinking that Vera has finally given up. Has she? Please keep watching to find out. Before I continue, I would like to ask you to kindly subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Please click on the subscribe button. Much appreciation. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you so much. Now, back to the story. Weeks turned into months, and the clouds of the past began to clear. Mike and Maria thrived, sharing dreams and building a future together. They traveled, laughed, and created memories that filled their hearts with joy. One evening, while watching the sunset from their balcony, Maria turned to Mike. "You know, I never doubted for a moment that you'd come back stronger," she said softly. "I couldn't have done it without you," Mike replied, taking her hand in his. "You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Their connection deepened, blossoming into a love that felt unbreakable. But just when they thought they had put the past behind them, Vera resurfaced, determined to reclaim her place in Mike's life. "Mike, I need to talk to you," she shouted one afternoon as he left the office. He turned to face her, irritation rising. "What is it, Vera? Haven't we been through enough?" "I've changed, really. I'm working on myself," she pleaded, desperation etched on her face. "Change takes time, and I'm not your project," Mike replied, feeling a familiar frustration building. "You can't just come back into my life like nothing happened." "I know I messed up. I want to prove to you that I can be better," Vera insisted, her eyes pleading. "Proving yourself to me isn't the point. You need to do it for you," he said, crossing his arms. "Please, just give me a chance. I'm not asking for much," she continued, her voice softening. Mike sighed, torn between compassion and resentment. "You need to understand that my life is with Maria now. I won't disrupt that for you." Vera's face fell, a mix of anger and heartbreak flashing across her features. "You think you're so much better now, don't you?" she snapped. "No, I just know what I want," he replied firmly. As Mike walked away, he felt a sense of finality wash over him. He had given Vera chances before, and he wasn't about to repeat the cycle. Time moved on, and Mike and Maria continued to flourish. Their relationship became a beacon of light, showcasing the power of love and trust. One evening, as they prepared for bed, Mike took Maria's hand. "I'm so grateful for you. You've made me a better man." Maria smiled, leaning in to kiss him. "And you've made me believe in love again. We're a team, Mike." As they drifted off to sleep, the future felt bright, unmarred by the shadows of the past. They were building a life filled with laughter, love, and adventure. Meanwhile, Vera grappled with her own demons. Despite her attempts to reinvent herself, the emptiness grew louder. She spent nights reminiscing about what she had lost, unable to shake the feeling of regret. "Why did I let him go?" she whispered to herself one night, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I took everything for granted." As the weeks turned into months, Vera realized that healing meant letting go. She began to focus on her own life, attending therapy and trying to understand her actions. Eventually, she started volunteering at a local charity, hoping to fill the void within her. It was a difficult journey, but with each passing day, she learned to take responsibility for her past. One afternoon, while serving meals at the shelter, Vera came across a familiar face, one of Mike's former colleagues. "Vera, I didn't expect to see you here," the woman said, surprised. How have you been? I'm working on myself, Vera replied, her voice steady. Trying to make amends. As they chatted, Vera found a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in a long time. Helping others became a source of strength, and for the first time, she started to envision a future without Mike. Back in the city, where Mike and Maria lived, their love story continued to unfold. They celebrated milestones, traveled to new places, and embraced life's challenges together. One sunny afternoon, while exploring a quaint market, Mike turned to Maria. "I want to start a family with you," he said, his eyes shining with excitement. Maria's face lit up. "Really? I'd love that. You'd make an amazing father." With newfound hope, they began to plan their future, discussing names, nursery themes, and dreams of what their family would look like. But in the back of Mike's mind, a lingering thought remained: how far he had come from the pain of his past. He knew that as they stepped into this new chapter, it was essential to keep the lessons learned close to his heart. One evening, while they were reflecting on their journey, Maria looked at Mike with a serious expression. "You know, we should reach out to Vera. It might help her find peace." Mike paused, considering her words. "Maybe you're right, but I don't want to open old wounds." "I understand, but sometimes closure can bring healing," Maria said softly. After some thought, Mike agreed to a meeting. They arranged to meet Vera at the same cafe where he had once confronted her. When Vera arrived, her demeanor was different. She looked more composed, almost like a new person. "Mike, Maria," she greeted, her voice steady. "Thank you for meeting me." As they sat down, Vera took a deep breath. "I've been working on myself. I want to apologize for everything I did to you, Mike." Mike watched her closely. "I appreciate that, Vera. It means a lot. I realized that I was selfish. I thought only of myself and didn't consider how my actions affected you," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. Maria reached out, offering her support. "Acknowledging the past is a big step." Vera nodded. "I'm trying to change, and I hope you both can find it in your hearts to forgive me." Mike looked at Maria, who nodded encouragingly. "We're not here to dwell on the past. We want you to find happiness too." Vera's eyes glistened with gratitude. "Thank you. It means more than you know." As the conversation continued, Mike realized that this meeting was a significant step, not just for Vera, but for him as well. He felt lighter, unburdened by the weight of resentment. Weeks turned into months, and Mike, Maria, and Vera formed an unlikely bond. They would occasionally meet to discuss Vera's progress and share their own milestones. Through this journey of healing, Mike learned that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant letting go of the pain that once held him captive. One afternoon, as Mike and Maria prepared for the arrival of their first child, they received a call from Vera. "I just wanted to thank you both for believing in me. I've enrolled in a program to help others who've been through similar struggles," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "That's incredible, Vera. We're proud of you," Maria replied, her heart swelling with warmth. As the seasons changed, so did their lives. Mike and Maria welcomed a beautiful baby girl into the world, filling their home with love and laughter. On the day of their daughter's christening, Vera stood by, a proud friend, watching the family she had once threatened now thrive in love. As the sun set over city, the three of them stood together, looking out at the city that had once been a battleground of hurt and betrayal. "Life is unpredictable, isn't it?" Mike mused, his arm wrapped around Maria. Vera smiled softly. It really is, but it's beautiful when you find your way. And in that moment, as they stood united, Mike realized that the journey he had taken had led him to a place of peace, one that he never could have imagined in his darkest days. The past had shaped him, but it no longer defined him. Together, they looked towards the future, ready to embrace whatever came next. Before you watch the next video, kindly subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Please click on the subscribe button and like this video. Be a part of my channel's growth by clicking on the next video on the screen and drop a comment to let me know what you think about the story. Thank you for watching. Much appreciation.